Holy fucking shit, does it feel good to love a Ridley Scott movie again. Okay, look, I know people have been asking me to dial back the profanity on these things, but I'm sorry, it's been a long time since one of our undisputed greatest filmmakers actually made a great film, and I'm excited about it. This hasn't happened since the director's cut of Kingdom of Heaven, and that was 2005, and since he's already announced he's gonna follow this one up with another fucking Prometheus movie, it might not happen again for a while. So how about you get off my ass and enjoy a rare, unabashedly positive review, huh? Anyway, The Martian is the best movie I've seen so far this year, and since it's now October, pronouncement like that actually starts to mean something. After a solid decade producing movies that looked great but often broke down on the narrative level, Sir Ridley has once again landed on solid base material and turned in the kind of filmmaking that's so good you want to call it a miracle, except that'd actually be doing it a disservice. There's nothing mystical or ephemeral about why The Martian is great. The answers are all right up there on screen. The cast is great, the acting is great, the script is tight as hell, the direction is nigh flawless, the effects work is gorgeous, hell, even the song choices are good. Everyone is on the same damn page and everyone is doing their damn job, and that's why it's good, which is amusing considering that's also a fairly concise breakdown of the film's plot, theme, and overarching ideals. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The basic premise here is that in the near future, NASA has finally managed to launch a manned mission to Mars, but there's a storm on the planet's surface bad enough that the crew has to abort the mission and take off early, and amid the chaos, one of them, specifically Matt Damon as team botanist Mark Watney, gets swept up in the storm and thrown to certain death. But, by sheer random chance, Watney is not actually dead. He's just stranded, alone on the red planet. Fortunately for him, Watney happens to not only be brilliant and capable enough scientist to literally life hack his way into creating a sustainable longer-term existence on Mars, he's also one of those movie scientists who are also kind of a bro and loves to quip sardonically about everything he's doing for the audience. Now, we've had a ton of these "it's okay for me to be smug all the time because my confidence comes from my admirable intelligence" heroes lately, and to be honest, Watney would probably be insufferable if we had to spend the whole fucking movie with him. But we don't. And that's where The Martian goes from being merely a solid film to a genuinely excellent one, transcending its starting point as a rock-solid genre exercise to become something more like a masterwork. See, while it'd be all well and good to just stick around on the red planet following Watney, especially since this is the absolute finest movie star turn of Matt Damon's entire career to this point, the film instead cuts back down to Earth where NASA soon discovers what's happening and mobilizes what soon becomes a global effort to bring him home, an effort through which The Martian slyly reveals its true colors. This isn't some hackneyed cautionary tale about the dangers of exploring the unknown, it's a high-stakes procedural about the awesome power of knowledge, which has placed Watney in one of the most impossible situations imaginable, mainly so it can thrill us with detailed depictions of smart, dedicated people figuring out how to get him out of it. This is, in effect, a love letter to science, space exploration, and NASA in particular, both in terms of its history and also its ideals. There's no villain in The Martian other than shitty luck and Mars itself. None of the human characters turns out to be an asshole or cartoonishly unreasonable in order to generate false drama. There's no bullshit love triangles or personal pettiness employed to make us like or dislike certain characters over the others, none of the sappy, tacked-on personal growth narrative that kept pulling me out of Gravity, and thank God none of the pseudo-spiritual bullshit that ruined Interstellar. Hell, the movie doesn't even try to impose a character arc on Mark, and he's the main character. He doesn't change or grow or learn anything through his ordeal. He and everyone else just face down the problems they're presented with and solve them one after the other. And that's easier said than done. The whole reason cheap drama and forced arcs exist is because procedural storytelling isn't always the most riveting thing in the world. That's why you fill your cast up with people like Jessica Chastain, Michael Pena, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Kate Mara, Kristen Wiig, Jeff Daniels, Sean Bean, Donald Glover, and why you hire a director like Ridley Scott. And that's why if everyone shows up and does their job, you get a great film out of it. Now folks, I'll admit I'm the easiest lay in the world for stuff like this. I'm that guy who never stopped being in love with outer space. I'm that guy who thinks we ought to be dumping as much funding as we possibly can into NASA come hell or high water because I do not want to die without at least seeing humanity be on its way to something like Starfleet in my lifetime. And I'm that guy who, if you hear this and come at me with some short-sighted, "but people are still, and we need the money for, but it's not important as," my response is always going to be, "Spaceship, fuck you." And that's why it's been hard for me to write this review, because I wanted to be sure I loved this movie mainly as a movie and not just because it's a fellow let's get our asses back to space booster. But yeah, this one really is that fucking good. I cannot think of a single thing I dislike about this movie. I love Scott's direction, I love the cast, I love watching Matt Damon remind us how good he can be when he's not making an ass of himself on that fucking reality show, I love how tight Drew Goddard's screenplay is, I like how well executed the denser scientific stuff is handled so that it's still 100% compelling even though I understood maybe maybe 20% of what they were talking about. I love seeing Sir Ridley bust out a couple of those music montages he's always good at, but doesn't do enough of. I love the way it celebrates and lionizes the idea of science and mathematics as skills as essential tools of survival without indulging in any STEM lord shitty, yeah, we run the world now pandering Revenge of the Nerds bullshit. I love the way it celebrates a global future of cooperation via a key subplot involving the Chinese space agents without feeling like it's unnecessarily getting into or unnecessarily avoiding politics. There just isn't a single place where The Martian goes wrong. It is quite simply an absolutely perfect realization of exactly what it wants to be, and I have not enjoyed a single movie more this year. Don't miss this one.
In your face, Neil Armstrong.